And so now it is our honor to invite Shaykh Qomi from the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, who is going to be talking to the believers on this auspicious holy night of the holy month of Ramadan about Jidad-E-Tabyin and the soft war. We invite him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
First of all, Jazakallah everybody for being here, and I would like to sincerely seek permission from my teachers who are present here for being able to speak to this crowd today. With your blessings and with your permission, Ustad Sawadi and Dr. Hashim, inshallah, you will inshallah bless us with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our seniors are also here. Jazakumullah for the appreciation and being here, and I apologize for the jasarat, but inshallah hopefully the corrections are to be made after the delivery and after the speech, and inshallah look forward towards seniors inshallah for any improvements and corrections that are necessary. Please recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today the topic we're going to be discussing is Jidad-E-Tabyin and the soft war. You know, one thing that the muballighin, the brothers who go for tabligh to different parts of the world, or they do tabligh here within the holy city of Qomi, let's try to make it a habit that the topics that we select, they come from the central leadership. We look at what Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei is saying, where he wants to take things, which direction he wants the ummah to move in, and try to decide and select our topics for our discussions based on the topics of the leader of the Muslim Ummah. This is the only way that we can contribute towards that cohesion and that movement, that unidimensional movement that Islam requires. Islam, as we all know, is a wilaya-centric religion. In Islam, wilaya is the focus. Wilaya is that axis around which everything revolves. So should our speeches, so should our discussions, so should our mubasas, so should our books that we discuss and we pick for our discussions. Right? So inshallah, I have tried to look at the Manzuma Fikri of Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei and try to extrapolate things from it and extract things from it regarding this topic, very important topic of Jidad-E-Tabyin and the soft war. As you know, both of these terms, they have been coined by Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei himself. So inshallah we will be talking on this topic if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq, and if you help me with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As the tradition goes, you know, before any speech in the holy month of Ramadan, we have seen the elders do this, that they do some sort of a tazakkur and some sort of a remembrance of some spiritual or akhlaqi stuff. I'm not in a position to give any advice. What I will quote is from Ustad Muayyidi. I was listening to something he said just a few days ago, and he said, in this holy month of Ramadan, let's try to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, our attention, our tamarkuz should be on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter what we do. we do ibadat, we do ziyarat, we do, go to different programs, socialize with mu'mineen, whatever we do, let's inshallah all of us, first and foremost myself and inshallah all of you, let's try to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and build that connection with Allah. Feel that connection with Allah at any given point in time, not just in our namaz, not just while we are fasting. Even after we break our fast, we need to be in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an advice from Ustad Muayyidi that he said a few days ago. Please recite a salawat. So we get into the outline of this presentation today, and we're going to be discussing quite a few topics. Inshallah, I'll try to be brief, but as you know, the topic itself is very extensive. So I've picked on a few things that I feel are important for us to discuss. The first thing we discuss is jihad, a trigger for Allah's mercy. This is something we're going to discuss. The second thing is the hard war and the soft war that we are facing at the moment. Then the soft war strategies as well. Then we move into what is Jidad-E-Tabyin. You probably have heard a lot of talks about it. Inshallah, we will add to it, if not second, the thoughts that you have already heard. Jidad-E-Tabyin being a divine duty. It's not just something, out there that you listen to and then you move on. No, it's a duty. It calls for action. Then, why Jidad-E-Tabyin? What's the need for it? Why is it that Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei has brought it up in such a manner that I have not seen in recent times that he has talked about any concept with such an intensity? What's the point? What's the reason? Right? Then where is the enemy attacking is something also we would like to figure out. Because this is important when it comes to Jihad-E-Tabyin. If you don't know about the attacks of the enemy, you cannot do jihad against the enemy. Then tools required for Jihad-E-Tabyin, the methodology of Jihad-E-Tabyin, and the outcome of Jihad-E-Tabyin. So inshallah we begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek nearness to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam through their tawassul, through the tawassul of Hazrat Ma'sooma salamullah alayha. We delve into this topic and inshallah expand it for you with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jihad being a trigger of Allah's mercy. In this holy month, we're all looking for mercy. Even if you look at the du'as from Sayfa Sajjadiyya, you look at the everyday My Ramadan du'as, we're seeking rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Quran tells us the way and the method of seeking that rahmah. How do you get that mercy? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna alladhina amanu walladhina hajaru wajahadu fi sabilillah ulaika yarjuna rahmatallah wallahu ghafurur rahim. Indeed, those who have believed and those who have migrated and waged jihad in the way of Allah, it is they who expect Allah's mercy. And Allah is all forgiving and all merciful. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a roadmap for us to be able to become someone who qualifies to be a recipient of Allah's mercy. He himself says it. Sometimes we feel that when we recite du'as, just reciting those du'as and invoking those du'as are going to do some sort of a magic to us. No. We live in the world of cause and effect, brothers and sisters. If the cause is not there, we should not expect the effects. Yes, the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. Yes, everything is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, He can create new rules. He can go to those exceptions. But we're talking about the roadmap that He has devised. If you want to trigger the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to hajaru wa jahadu. Without jihad in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not expect Allah's mercy. At least in the light of this verse of Holy Quran. So this tells us, mu'mineen, mu'minat, we have to be in the state of jihad. What that jihad means, we'll talk about it. Right? The qadr mutayakkan is The bare minimum is that we have to be in the state of jihad, not in the state of concealment, not in the state of where we're not struggling on the path of Allah, not in the state of comfort, not in the state of passiveness. All of these things are opposite to what Allah has asked us to do. Be in the state of jihad. Be in the state of jihad. When we talk about jihad, you know there is jihad bin nafs. You do like jihad against your own lowly animalistic desires, right? Your whims, your wishes. Yes, that is jihadul akbar. We all know about the ahadith that have come for that jihadul akbar, and that is definitely something that is established in Islam. At every given point in time, we have to do jihad against our nafs. But sometimes we notice that people stop at that. Some people stop at jihad bin nafs. And they don't want to talk about the jihad against the external enemy. So what ends up happening? They keep thinking that they're doing jihad against their nafs, while the external enemy keeps attacking them, making them weak, making them deprived, making them oppressed, and they don't want to do anything about it. There are some people like that, and we have encountered them. When we talk about the external enemy, there are two types of wars. One of the classifications is this: two types of wars that we know about. One is the hard war, the other is the soft war. The hard war and the soft war, there are certain differences. The list is longer than this, so I brought like a few of them. In hard war, it is a physical warfare where you're involved with your body, right? Where you're physically involved in this war. The soft war, on the other hand, is psychological warfare. It has to do with your mind, with your thoughts. The hard war is fought with the conventional weapons, right? The guns, the rockets, the jets, fighter jets, tanks, so on and so forth. But when it comes to soft war, generally it's fought through media, because it has to do with your mind. It is the messages that have to be planted in your head, not those bombs, those physical bombs, right? When we look at the hard war, the goal is to occupy land or resources of a country. When it comes to soft war, it is to occupy minds, thoughts, worldview, belief, and culture, values. All of these things are the goal of soft war. In soft war, these are the targets. It's not the physical land anymore. What is the target in the hard war? The infrastructure. In Palestine's war against the Zionist regime of Israel, what happened? Palestine was razed to ground. When they attacked, the Zionist regime attacked Lebanon, it was razed to ground. Their bridges, their hospitals, their schools, right? It's the infrastructure that was lost. The physical human lives were lost. Babies were lost. They were killed. Fathers, mothers, grandfathers, they were killed, right? In the soft war, the target is the heart and the mind of the individual. It's no longer your body only, no. The real game over here is your thoughts, your decisions. The result is, for the hard war, the result is physical occupation and authority of the attacker over the one who's attacked. In soft war, it tampers your decision-making ability. It tampers with your decision-making process. So the decisions you make in your life, for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, for your friends, for your activities, for your studies, for your hoza, they all can be the potential targets, the decisions that you make. So this is like a very high level difference between the hard war and the soft war. I hope the idea is clear. Now there are certain soft war strategies. If we look at what Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei has been saying for the last at least 20 years, 20 decades that I know of, 20 years, 2 decades that I know of, he's been talking about some soft war strategies. And it's essential and important for us to know. The grown-ups probably, and those who have the mutala of the Asar of Rahbar, they already know, inshallah. It's important for the youth to understand this. This is not a new phenomenon that we're dealing with in 2023. It's been going on for quite a while now. Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei said, the Islamic lifestyle, the Sabke Zindagi Islami. Then Ifsha Dari, these are like one after another, right? Different time periods in last 20 years or so. Imam Khamenei kept bringing up this soft war, different soft war arenas and strategies, exposing the reality, Ifsha Dari. Then psychological warfare, Jange Rawani. The media warfare, Jange Rasani. The war of narratives, Jange Riwayat Ha. The jihad of clarification, which is Jidad-E-Tabyin, that is something we are discussing today. All of these things have been talked about by Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei in the last few years. Now, how many of us, we know about these things? Because all of these wars, there are solutions to these wars. There are strategies that Imam Khamenei has spelled out. But I guess most of us would be unaware of, unfortunately. And this is a shame. You know, when we say that we're not going to leave the leader alone, it means that we listen to what he's saying. It means that we follow what he is asking us to follow. It means we be in the arena. We be his supporters. We listen to what he's saying and then preach it, being Hosa students, right? But if we don't know about these things ourselves, it becomes really difficult. We are in some different zone, in some different valley otherwise. Right? We have to be on that same wavelength of the Islamic leadership. In the time of prophets, we were expected and supposed to be on that same wavelength of the prophets. Be in that jaw, be in that environment. Listen to what the prophet is saying and act accordingly, right? Because Iman and Amal, as Hazrat Allah says in Tariqul and Isha Islami Dar Quran, they go hand in hand. Iman without Amal is a false claim. In many cases, we fool ourselves that we have Iman on something. In terms of our mabna, we believe in something, but when it comes to our practical strategy, we completely contradict it. In terms of our mabna, we say we are wilayati. In terms of our mabna, we say we are rahbari. In terms of our mabna, we say we are inqalabi. But when it comes to our actions, our decisions, our approach, our strategies, some of us, we are in conflict with our mabna. One of the reasons, and I say this to my friends often, one of the reasons of the Zahiri muwaffaqiyat and success of the West, the apparent success, is because they acted based on their mabna. They said our mabna is materialism. And they, in every single thing that they did, they made sure that they were doing riayat of this mabna. They were acting based on this mabna. Unfortunately, when it comes to Islamic world, it's seen that our mabna says something else and our actions, in a lot of cases, at least superficially and zahiri, they're in contradiction to it. And this is a problem. So these last two ones on this list, this is what we want to discuss today, right? The war of narratives and the jihad of clarification. Why did I say both of them? Because the first one is the offensive strategy. And this Jidad-E-Tabyin is the defensive soft war strategy. So while we absorb this, if you recite us salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So these two, they go hand in hand. The war of narratives and Jidad-E-Tabyin. The Jange Riwayat Ha and Jidad-E-Tabyin. They go hand in hand. One is offensive, the other is defensive. That's the only major difference between the two. Let me just explain it a little bit. When I say offensive, means that when there is a happening, there is an incident in the world, you have to have a stance on it. You have to have a take on it. This is your riwayat. This is your narrative. If you do not have a narrative on an issue, you are irrelevant. So for instance, you look at Yemen, right? The oppressed people of Yemen going through what they went through in the last 8 years, if you don't have a stance on it, if you don't have a position on it, you think you don't have a narrative on it, right? Similarly, you look at this case, Mahsa Amini case, right? If you don't have your narrative spelled out, then the enemy is going to spell out the narrative. You can stay silent all you want, at will. But rest assured, the enemy is not going to stay silent just because you are silent. Isn't that right? They're going to paint the picture the way they want. Just in Farsi language, the enemy has more than 200 TV stations, just in Farsi language. Look at the level of propaganda that they have been doing, right? So as a muballigh, as a small student of the Hawza, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to counter that. Staying silent is not an option. And we know in the light of the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, that if we are siding with the oppressor. So how in the world can we be indifferent? It's just not a choice. Even in terms of ground realities, we're supposed to have a stance, muwaqqaf. We have to have like a position on the issues. And where does that position come from? This is another problem in the Islamic world. Everybody thinks that when it comes to ahkam of Islam, let it be in Sunni fiqh or Shia fiqh. When it comes to the ahkam of Islam, we are going to look towards a faqih, a mufti in their language. In our language, a faqih, a marja. Right? When it comes to the personal ahkam of fiqh. But when it comes to the socio-political affairs of the Muslim Ummah, we are all fuqaha. We all have a viewpoint. We all have our own position. Who gave us the right to have a position? Why in the world are we not doing taqleed for such a sensitive field? In taharat, if you go wrong, fine, you went wrong, you have to pay the price for it. But nobody else gets killed. There's no damage to the entire ummah. In case of your fasting, let's say you did your own ijtihad while you were not qualified to do ijtihad, you reached the wrong conclusions and you wasted your fast. Nobody else got hurt. Your fast became batil, right? But when it comes to socio-political affairs, our wrong decisions, our self-made strategies and self-made paths which are contradicting with the path of Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, that is going to be detrimental for the entire ummah. Isn't that logical? So we have to, in socio-political affairs, but tariq awla, we have to do taqleed. We have to follow the expert, the waliul faqih. Some people say, oh, I do taqleed of my marja. And that's enough for my ahkam and for my socio-political affairs too. Brother, your marja is not even claiming that he is a socio-political guide for you. The marja is saying that I am your guide for your personal ahkam. Your day-to-day taharat masail, your day-to-day personal masail. Not at the global ummah level, right? The marja is not even saying that. If you know of a marja who's saying this and who's giving direction, fill me in. I haven't heard anyone who's taking active stance on the issue of Yemen, the issue of Iraq, the issue of Lebanon, the issue of Palestine, the issue of Iran, the issue of Pakistan, so on and so forth. What are we going to do with the Arab world? What are we going to do with the non-Muslim world? What relationships are we supposed to build with who? Being Muslims, being Shias, being followers of Ahlul Bayt. Who is doing it? Who's assuming this responsibility? Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So why turn towards anyone else for socio-political guidance? Make sense? Let's quickly get into, I said Jidad-E-Tabyin is the defense war strategy, soft war strategy. And Jang-e-Riwayat is the offense soft war strategy. What is Jidad-E-Tabyin? It's a composite of two words. One is jihad, the other is tabyin. We talked about jihad, struggling in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that struggle doesn't have to be a struggle with the weapons. It's just struggle in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on the principles taught to us by Allah. Tabyin is something we will talk about in a few minutes, right? Struggle, fight, strive, do effort, that's jihad. Tabyin is clarification, explanation. So the lughwi ma'na, as in the Hausa we say the literal meaning, it would be jihad of clarification. But then, let's look at the istilahi ma'na. That's way deeper than this. It's not as simple as that. The technical meaning or the istilahi mana is jihad to counter and foil the propaganda, lies, plots, schemes, and deceit of the enemy. Keep this definition in mind because we're going to circle back to it. Keep this definition. This is what Jidad-E-Tabyin is. Some brothers I've talked to, they think that, Hausa students, they think that doing anything for Islam is Jidad-E-Tabyin. Even if I'm just teaching ahkam, that's Jidad-E-Tabyin. Even if I'm teaching kalam, kalam-e-qadim, it's Jidad-E-Tabyin. Kalam-e-jadid is Jidad-E-Tabyin. Falsafa is Jidad-E-Tabyin. Everything is Jidad-E-Tabyin. So they get off the hook by just saying that, no, everything we're doing and struggling on the path of Islam, spreading Islam is Jidad-E-Tabyin. Tamam shud. Wazifa ma tamam shud. It's not like that. This is incomplete or rather wrong understanding of Jidad-E-Tabyin. The emphasis of Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei is not on you going around and just telling ahkam. You going around and just doing seerah for nikah. You going around and doing Salatul Mayyat and stuff. This is not Jidad-E-Tabyin. Jidad-E-Tabyin is very specific. And where do I get it from? And we'll inshallah talk about it. Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei himself said, not every effort or struggle is jihad. Jihad must have the elements of, number one, confronting the enemy. Number two, opposing the enemy. Number three, challenging the enemy. Brothers and sisters, some of us think that we are going to subtract enemy from the equation and still be the mujahid fi sabilillah. This is not true. In the spirit of Islam, this is not true. May Allah guide us if we are thinking on this path. Jihad has to have an opponent that we are fighting against. Whatever the field may be. Let it be the ilm, let it be fiqh, let it be, the ground field work, whatever it is, right? Jihad has to have a defined enemy. And this is something that is important for all of us to realize and understand. Jidad-E-Tabyin is targeted jihad against the enemy. Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei has said, Jidad-E-Tabyin yek farize yek qat'i wa fawri ast. Jidad-E-Tabyin is a certain and immediate duty. There are only two quyud in this small statement. One is qat'i, the other is fawri. For instance, let me first say this. Jidad-E-Tabyin, some people feel, and they have said it, expressed it, it's for Iranians only. They're supposed to do Jidad-E-Tabyin. Says who? Look, you're free, as a Hausa student, you're free to make any educational claim, but you have to back it up. If you're talking about Jidad-E-Tabyin, Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei has talked about it extensively for years now. You have to be able to take your statement, your understanding back to what Imam Khamenei has said and prove it. If you want to say that it's just for Iranians, you have to bring a proof. If you have to say it's just for Arabs, you have to bring a proof. If you have to say it's just for men, you have to bring a proof. If you have to say it's just for women, you have to bring a proof. Again, from where? From Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei. Two quyud over here, two sharait. One is certainty of this Jidad-E-Tabyin, the other is it being immediate. Now the question is, why did Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei put these two conditions on it? Isn't it interesting? He could have just said, Jihad-E-Tabyin Fariziyas. Why did he say Qat'i and Fawri? This is where the analytical part is coming. So I'm not making any claims, but this is how I understand it. Qat'i, because he knew that in Islamic world, when it comes to the Islamic ideology, there is a strong pluralism that is going on. So Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei says something, and then some other person, some other Haji Abba, he says, yeah, what he's saying is right. But, and then he has his own khat, his own masir. Right? Brother, your academia, Jai Khodesh, but who gave you the right to come up with an alternate path? Right? When Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei says that Jihad-E-Tabyin is certain, and we will expand on what Jihad-E-Tabyin means precisely, but for now, he's saying Jihad-E-Tabyin is certain and immediate. Now, the second cat, let's talk about this. Why immediate? Again, because of a disease that we have. We shy away from our responsibilities, people like me, who don't have strong iman. We shy away from our responsibilities, saying that I'll do it in future. For now, I'm just busy doing this. Masalan, in our case, for the students, our best excuse is what? Studies. It gets even better. Mubahasas, right? We just, completely shove aside what the leader is saying based on our own understanding of our responsibility. Brothers and sisters, over here, Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei is very clear, explicit. If somebody has any kalukil in this statement, let's sit down. He says it's Qat'i and Fawri. Whatever Jihad-E-Tabyin is, we will talk about what it is, right? But whatever it is, it's Qat'i and Fawri. Qat'i is, for students, Qat'i would be something that is opposed to shak and zan, right? Qat is opposed to shak and zan, correct? And then we have Fawri, it's as opposed to takhiri, or something that can be delayed. Like for instance, if you don't pray your namaz right on the time, like awwal waqt, you still have time to pray your namaz. But for the wajibat fawri, immediate, you cannot do that. That's why they are fawri. And again, the seniors are inshallah welcome to correct me on this. So again, brothers and sisters, remember the statement. It should echo in our heads. This is something that needs to be done gufteman sazi upon. Jihad-E-Tabyin yek farize qat'i wa fawriyas. Please recite a salawat.
لبيك يا مهدي لبيك يا خامنئي لبيك يا خامنئي لبيك يا مهدي.
So remember this statement that this is what Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei wants. He says that it's wajib, it's fariza, fawri and qat'i, right? Now why do we need Jihad-E-Tabyin? And again, we're trying to open up the topic, so inshallah after tonight, you know exactly what Jihad-E-Tabyin means and what it requires from us, right? We said iman and amal, they have to go hand in hand. This is that basic Islamic philosophy, basic fundamental. Don't ever think that, if I'm doing these discussions that are all intizai, they're all zehni, they have nothing to do with the ground realities, I'm getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while I neglect my responsibilities on ground. It doesn't work like that, brothers and sisters. Not in Islam. Not in the pure Muhammadan Islam. And again, somebody who doesn't, this statement, if it's problematic for someone, pick up that Iman section of Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei's Tariq-ul-Li. You will know. I'm not saying those statements here because they're too strong. So, Iman and Amal, they have to go hand in hand. Our teacher the other day was talking in the class about Hikmat-e-Nazari and Hikmat-e-Amali. The practical wisdom and the theoretical wisdom. Again, it was a matlab that was close to him. He's here, so I'm not going to repeat that matlab. Please recite a salawat. Why Jihad-E-Tabyin? What is the need of Jihad-E-Tabyin? Why do we need it? Brothers and sisters, remember this. It is to defend that which is being attacked. This is the easiest definition I could come up with based on what I've read from Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei. You have to defend that which is being attacked. Now your minds are going all over the places, right? What is the enemy attacking? Start thinking about each thing, each single thing, right? Find out where the enemy is attacking. That's the first and foremost thing. The second is counter the propaganda of the enemy. The third is expose the falsification and lies of the enemies. The fourth is clear up the doubts created by the enemy. Yuwaswisu fi sudur an-nas. One of the things that shaitan and the followers of shaitan do is to confuse people. Just make them double-minded. Make them doubt their path. And it happens with everyone. Unless they're always connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those who Allah wants us to connect to. The Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and their deputies. The moment we have the disconnect in that connection, shaitan has a way into our thoughts, into our hearts, right? It creates doubts. Explain the confusions that prevail in the society. Brothers and sisters, sometimes we go, and it's very easy for me to just take like one hadith, akhlaqi hadith, and even for any one of you, right, for the same argument, and just explain it, very superficially and go. It's very easy. And then we feel that, oh, we have listened to a dars, we have listened to a lecture, we feel that we have gotten close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, our societies are being taken hostage. Our societies are becoming corrupt. The evil is ruling over our societies throughout the world. In 1400 years, how's this for a performance? In 1400 years, the entire Islamic Ummah has only one Islamic government today. How many countries we have in the world? Only one Islamic government, only one Islamic system in 1400 years. Only one system that is alive today. After Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, please recite a salawat. After Imam Ali alayhi salam, we come to Imam Hassan alayhi salam's few months of governance. What do we have after that? You talk about Mukhtar, it's disputed, somebody says something. Then we have like Ali Buya, Khilafat Usmani. I'm talking about Shia Sunnis both. So it's the world of kufr ruling over the world of Islam. It's as simple as that. So do you really think that, we should just read, as a muballigh, we should just read a akhlaqi hadith and this is the dars and the lecture and then go home, sleep all satisfactorily and then wait for the time for Salatul Shab, the Namaz Shab? We need to start getting serious about where the ummah is headed. And this is what the leader wants. Leader wants you to focus on the issues that the ummah is dealing with in your countries, in the region, in the Islamic Republic, so on and so forth. The goal of Tabyin, brothers and sisters, I know you are tired, but these topics, I don't know when and where to explain, so I'm taking up your time, inshallah. We got 4 more slides to go. But the goal of Tabyin is illuminate the darkness, fight the lies, remove the curtains, reveal the facts and realities. This is what we are expected to do, the muballighin. And by the way, I keep saying muballighin because most of the people over here, my peers, my teachers, we are all like Hosa related people. Rahbar says that this is fariza for everyone, not just for muballighin, not just for the scholars. It's everyone to get equipped, get into the arena and fight, do jihad. Why? We recited the verse of Quran. You have to do jihad. It doesn't say only the Hosa students have to do jihad. Every single one of us has to do jihad. the junior student or the senior student, everybody has to do jihad fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where is the enemy attacking? Brothers and sisters, first and foremost target of the enemy is the system of Wilayatul Faqih. We know for 40 plus years, even if the Islamic Republic of Iran, this country called Iran, it is being attacked. It is attacked because of what? Because of the system of Wilayatul Faqih. This is the same Iran that the West had so much investments in. It was the safe haven for the West, for the collective West. It was their major safe haven, even bigger than the Zionist regime of Israel before Inqilab. The only thing that changed, the people didn't change, the roads didn't change, the sky didn't change, the walls didn't change. What changed? The system. The system of Wilayatul Faqih is something that they have problem with. Now, if that system is installed in Iran, the Taghut has problem with Iran. If that system gets installed on me as an individual, they will start having problem with me. This is the nature of Taghut. The Taghut is going to fight the system of Allah, which is Wilaya. In the occultation of the infallible Imam, that system is Wilayatul Faqih. And no, there is no difference between Fuqaha anywhere throughout the history. They all believe in Wilayatul Faqih being the fundamental belief in Islam. The only difference that you see that the Fuqaha of the past or the present may have is when it comes to the jurisdiction of Wilayatul Faqih. Not the concept itself, not the asl. It is established in Islam. So system of Wilayatul Faqih is their first and foremost target. The second thing is Islamic Republic of Iran. Why? Because out of all the countries that exist in the world today, Iran is the only country, because of the barakat of the Islamic system and Waliul Faqih being the head guide on that system, that they are resisting against all the arrogant powers of the world, no matter what the cost. They pay a price for it. And this is something we cherish. But honestly speaking, when it comes to us, ourselves, we're not ready to pay any price. We like the Inqilabis. I have a statement, if I have time, which I don't think I would have it. I would read it to you. You know how Imam said that if you want to say that, somebody said that I'm a Shia, he said, no, just say you are our Muhib. Right? Don't say you are a Shia. It takes a lot more to be a Shia. Similarly, loving or liking the revolutionaries, revering the Shuhada, liking the Shuhada is one thing. Treading the path of Shahadat is different. Shahadat Talabi is different. Asking for Shahadat and preparing our own kids for Shahadat is different. These are two different things. Sometimes we mix it up. Islamic Republic of Iran resisting paying the price, we're like, you know, mashallah, labbaik, labbaik, labbaik. But when it comes to us paying the price, we start pointing fingers. They should have done this, they shouldn't have done this, they should have just stayed silent, they should have just done. Yanichi. Why don't we say that Imam Khamenei should have stayed silent? Why don't we say that Imam Khomeini to begin with should have stayed silent? If that is our philosophy is resisting the Taghut, fighting the Taghut, being in the state of jihad against the Taghut, no matter what the price. And this is what we learn from Waliul Faqih. This is what we learn from the Shuhada. This is what we learn from the Imam al-Shuhada. We learn from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He said that under no circumstances let it be that we accept disgrace. He said no to humiliation, no to disgrace. He said, hayhat min nazillah. Look, the nature of this slogan is not that you do it tabarukan. If you want to do the slogan from your heart, then do it properly. It has to come from the bottom of your heart. Just stand with Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala. And now you're facing the tyrant like Yazid with hundreds and thousands of forces, unlimited resources. Imam Hussain alayhi salam not even having water. And still, not even someone like Hazrat Sakina and Hazrat Ruqayya, both the names are used. Not even she even once said that, Baba, let us accept Yazid or his conditions for a while so we get some water. Let's negotiate with them. Let's sit on a talking table. Not even once. If you want to do and respond to the call of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Hal min nasirin yansurna, and you want to say labbaik to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, then do it properly like you mean it. Labbaik ya Hussain. Labbaik ya Hussain. Labbaik ya Hussain. Labbaik ya Hussain. You know, we are not going to, we the followers of Ahlul Bayt, we reject disgrace and humiliation. We're not going to accept it, no matter what the price be. What's so difficult in it? Isn't this what we say about our Imams? Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, he said that all of the Imams, we say in the ziyarat, all of the Imams, they were in the state of jihad. He said only 3 did the jihad with the sword. Right? Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Correct? He said, then why do we say about the rest of them that they were in the state of jihad? They were not fighting with their swords. At least history doesn't say that, right? It is because, and he makes a point there, I'm not saying it on my own. He said because they were in the state of Jidad-E-Tabyin. Imam Khamenei says that they were in the state of Jidad-E-Tabyin. So Islamic Republic gets attacked. Islamic Revolution gets attacked. It gets hijacked. The principles of Islamic Revolution, the Shuhada, they get blamed for things. The enemy does propaganda against their character, and we'll talk about the character assassination too. This is what gets attacked. Again, why are we looking at this list of things that are being attacked? Because this is where the Jihad of Tabyin is supposed to be. Jihad of clarification. The first step is to identify where the enemy is attacking. Our personalities. Shaheed Qasim, Shaheed Abu Mahdi Mohandis, Shaheed Arif. These are the people being attacked. Shaheed Imad Mughniya. All of these great Shuhada of Islam. And when we talk about Shuhada, you know, one of the biggest disservice that we can potentially do is to give them a nationality. These Shuhada are the Shuhada of Islam. This is a disservice if we start thinking about them in terms of their nationality, in terms of their region, in terms of their language. No, they were the soldiers of Allah. They were just subservient to the Mawla. Tamam. That's what their identity is. So they're attacking our personalities. Now, all of these things that I'm talking about, I'm just listing them. There is something that we need to do to defend these things. For instance, for Shuhada, for our personalities, we have to have those Takreem Shuhada programs, for instance. We have to elevate their ranks. We have to tell people about them. So on and so forth. The pure Muhammadan Islam in a nutshell, that Imam Khomeini Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayhi said, Islam-e Nabi Muhammadi, as opposed to what? Islam-e Amrikai. As opposed to what? Islam-e Tasannun-e Amrikai wa Tashayyu' Inglisi. Right? The British Shiaism, the American Sunnism, as opposed to that, Islam-e Nabi Muhammadi, the pure Muhammadan Islam, that is under attack. Why? Why is it that all brands of Islam can exist? Let it be Wahhabis, Takfiris, let it be, Ahl Hadith, the traditional Shias, all sorts of brands of Islams, they can exist. But when it comes to Islam and Nabi Muhammadi, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it gets attacked. Think about this, right? Then Islamic sanctities. You looked at, how they created Daesh to attack Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha, her shrine. How they were just a few kilometers away from the haram of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We saw that. They're attacking these sanctities. The Mujahideen which doesn't include us. Yes, we can praise them, we can feel good about it, but we were not part of that defense. We didn't go to defend the shrine of Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha or Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Why? Because we say that we are supposed to be doing Jidad-E-Tabyin. We are the Hawza students, right? But then when it comes to Jidad-E-Tabyin, are we doing it? Is something I should ask myself, and everybody inshallah ask themselves. The camp of resistance overall, you look at anywhere you have the Islamic movement going on. In Lebanon, if you have an Islamic resistance going on, they attack that. In all possible manners. They freeze their bank accounts, they kill their people, they spy on them, they kidnap them, they do target killing, so on and so forth. They do tahdeed, and I don't know how much you look at these spying games that gets played, they are looking into Hezbollah and the way it operates and try to break it from within. This is something they do nufuz, infiltrate and break it from within, make it weaker. Then, our movements throughout the world. Ayatollah Isa Qasim was in Bahrain, right? They got attacked. Shaykh Zakzaki in Nigeria, he got attacked. You see how precise the enemy is working against us? The brothers from Pakistan, they know it better, that Shaheed Arif Hussaini, they knew that if he would have stayed more than those 4 years that he was there for and he was able to serve, he would have changed the destiny of Pakistan. The brothers from Pakistan know that. Every single of these people that the enemy attacks, there's a reason behind it. So brothers and sisters, let me get this very clear. If you get attacked by the enemy, know that you are being effective. Know that there is a problem that they are facing because of you. Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, in one of his speeches, recent speeches, he said that if you are not being attacked by the enemies of Islam, then doubt your effectiveness. It's not me saying it. If we are not being attacked, it's not something to be happy about. Yes, we have to be careful. Yes, nobody's saying that you should just do reckless stuff. That's not the point. The point is, be effective. Be effective in a way that the enemy becomes forced and compelled to come against you. If you're not doing that, you're not effective enough. Tools required for Jidad-E-Tabyin, and I'm coming towards the end. Adequate knowledge is the first thing, brothers and sisters. If we think that we can fight on any front that has to do with Jidad-E-Tabyin without knowledge, that ain't happening. Delivering a powerful speech or good speech, it doesn't mean anything. Knowledge is what has value. Being Hawza students, being in the Hawza, having all the opportunities to avail all the resources, great teachers, great urafa living in our time. This is something, a responsibility for us to build ourselves, both spiritually, academically, and then, with whatever knowledge we have, start doing the jihad. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if in shakartum la azidannakum, if you do shukr of, in parentheses, of my ni'mah, then I will increase it. Ilm is a ni'mah. We all know that. If we don't do shukr of ilm, He's not going to increase it. So the only way to increase our ilm is to do shukr. And what is the shukr of ilm? To spread it. To let it go to people. Use mass communication. Use mass media. Use social media. Right? Don't just confine your ilm to yourself. Don't just, think that, oh, I just want to have like a very small kiddie corner in which I just sit down with a few of my, people and that's it. Don't, why? Who said that? If you can benefit, let me ask you, if you have money and you're willing to help people and you can help 5 people and in another scenario you can help with that same money 50 people, would you go for 5 or 50? You'd go for 50. You're willing to help people, right? Why would you hold back? It doesn't make sense. You go and preach. Give Islam to people. The masses are thirsty. They want to be introduced to the ma'arif of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Unfortunately, again, it's our taqseer, it's our shortcoming, that whatever little we can do, we're still not doing it, unfortunately. Adequate knowledge. The ability to present the correct intellectual discourse. You know, sometimes we get into discussions, but we don't know how to have these discussions, unfortunately, right? How do you, and this is okay, you know, not everybody like knows how to discuss things, but this is something we can learn. What's stopping us from learning? You know, get ourselves educated on how to have proper discussion on any topic, an intellectual discourse. The ability to follow proper reasoning and logical principles. You know, sometimes we are saying things, you know, that are fallacies. Sometimes we are saying things that are contradicting each other. You know, how to make sure that when we're doing Jidad-E-Tabyin, what tools I need to have is like a proper logical, structured mindset so I can convince the person, I can deliver the message in the best of the ways possible. Islamic akhlaq. One of the things is when we think about jihad, we think that it's all about fist fight. No, it's not fist fighting. Jihad has its own principles in Islam. Even the battlefield, the physical battlefield, we all know. And I don't have time to get into these things. I'm just saying it for as a tazakkur. Shaykh Haj Qasim, when he used somebody's house where they had to use it, he put down his phone number, his address, whatever, you know, this is how you can contact me if I have done something. And I can pay you back and stuff like that. I used your house without permission because people had left that area because it was a war zone, right? We have rules in the battlefield. Islamic akhlaq, ethics, morals, taqwa, sincerity, patience. And as soon as we say like taqwa and sincerity, and you know, all we can imagine is like somebody very feeble, very weak, you know, sitting in a corner, not saying a full sentence, you know, he doesn't know anything what's going on in the world. No. Imam Ali alayhi salam is the Imam al-Muttaqeen. He is the best example for us. At the night, he is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like an abd. In the daytime, he's a lion. The enemy is scared. The enemy cannot stand him being on the side of Rasulullah. This is what we mean by Islamic akhlaq. Islamic akhlaq is not those artificial, you know, acting. Just sitting in a certain way, standing in a certain way, talking in a certain way. That's not Islamic akhlaq. Call it whatever else, right? So this sincerity and this patience has to be accompanied with courage. Courage is part of Islamic akhlaq. It's a value of Islam. It's an akhlaqi value of Islam. We need to know where to be courageous. We need to know that when the enemy is being challenged by the wali of my time or his naib, his deputy, I have to challenge the enemy. If the enemy is throwing a stone towards the wali, I have to take that stone. If the enemy is targeting Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, I should be taking that arrow on my chest. This is courage. And this is something that is one of the tools required for Jidad-E-Tabyin. Acquaintance with social media tools and techniques. Again, you're going to need to know that if you are in the mass communication business, right? Access to the verifiable information, data, and subject matter experts. In this case, subject matter experts would be the Inqalabi revolutionary ulama and the seniors, the brothers who may not be ulama, but they have done some specialized studies. Let's say in IT, artificial intelligence is growing, right? Not every alim is up to speed with that, right? So you use them, get access to the verifiable information, data, and subject matter experts. Again, it is not confined to ulama. This is another mistake. I don't have time to talk about it. You know, it involves people who are not necessarily Hawza students, but they're ultra religious people. They're dedicated people, and they're experts in their own fields. They should be working with the Hawzavis to take it forward. The methodology of Jidad-E-Tabyin, it's a long topic. I'm just going to show you the things I had in mind to talk about, and I won't talk about it. We'll just read through it. There are 4 steps, brothers and sisters. based on the Manzuma Fikriya Imam Khamenei. This is what I've come up with. And again, you're free to, inshallah, do more research and fill me in with more stuff. This is some very superficial stuff that I thought would be suitable for this gathering. So if you recite a salawat, I'll go over it real quick. So 4 steps. First is recognizing the enemy. The second is working strategy of the enemy. Remember, we are in defensive mode, huh? Jidad-E-Tabyin is all about defense. Third, research on those topics where they are targeting you. Fourth, engagement. You engage, right? This is no different than a physical battlefield. Jihad-E-Tabyin, when we talk about jihad of clarification, it has to have proper protocols to it. Not just I read a book, I explained it to someone, then I'm so satisfied that I did Jihad-E-Tabyin. No, it's not enough. It's good, but not enough. Recognizing the enemies, dissecting the layers of enemies. For instance, you look at the enemy, you have America, head of the snake. Then you have the Zionist regime, the illegal Zionist regime, inshallah soon to be gone. Then you have UK, then you have France, Germany, right? All of the collective West. Then you come within, this region, there are those treacherous Arab governments who are subservient to the West. Okay, inshallah, that is changing. As we see in the news, there are some good trends with the Saudi regime that the relationships of the Islamic Republic are going to be redefined. Let's see how that goes, but just saying, as a hashiyeh. All of these are different layers. We have to dissect them, understand them. Then we have ideological oppositions, right? Takfiris, Wahhabis, some are violent, some are not violent, they're just academic, so on and so forth. It has to be understood properly. One mistake that revolutionaries do is that they pick the wrong enemies sometimes. We have to be very precise and very careful. And that's one of the issues, that when you don't let out your anger on the enemies of Islam, the real enemies of Islam, you feel compelled to make superficial enemies. And this is unfortunate. So for instance, for the longest time ever in this region, before the Inqilab, when Imam Khomeini had not educated us, the Ummah, Shias considered Sunnis to be their enemies, and Sunnis considered Shias to be their enemies in some cases. Why? Because they did not have the recognition of the real enemy. What is the best way to find out who the real enemy is? Again, we said do taqleed. Why do I have to be a rocket scientist and come up with a list of enemies that I feel are the enemies? Who am I? Look towards the leader of the Muslim Ummah. Look towards the Waliul Faqih. Look towards the person who is in charge of this area. And just do taqleed. Follow him. He says America is the enemy. America is the enemy. Chashp ala rasi. Tamam shuddige. What's this kalokil about? No, I think this is more important. No, I think that is more important. Bil akhir, America has some goodness in it. It's none of your job, none of your business. Ensure that we don't take the wrong crowd as our enemies. Working strategy. Note down the propaganda of the enemy. Do a structured work. What are the propaganda techniques that they're using? Identify the lies that they're using. Identify the schemes and plots. And then what weightage they give to which lie. Sometimes they're using one lie, like Mahsa Amini case was like a use on steroids, I would say. They just went haywire with that whole thing. Right? So you look at the weightage and have a response ready based on that weightage. Research, consult the subject matter experts, like I said before. Collect relevant data. One of the things is, a lot of times we don't talk about statistics. We don't talk about numbers. We don't have tangible information on hand. We just talk based on emotions. This needs to change if we have to be part of the soft war properly. Verify these facts and figures. Arrange to devise an engagement strategy once you're done with all this. Engage individually. Brothers and sisters, one thing again, the problem is there's so many topics. Each one of them is a topic. If you see and if you understand that there's a wali and you are the follower, you have a responsibility on your shoulder no matter what. There's no istisna. Oh, I can't form a team. So be it. Work alone. Do your responsibility. Although working in team is preferred, because Rahbar said, "Khar bayat tashkilati bashad." Right? He knows that when you work as a team, there's a lot that you learn, your effectiveness goes up, the enemy gets more bothered, so on and so forth. But under no circumstances are we off the hook. Just like we say about namaz, you're not off the hook, no matter what. Similarly with Jidad-E-Tabyin, you're not off the hook. I'm not off the hook. Nobody's off the hook. Then track and follow up on your engagement. Sometimes we keep doing all the hasanat and good things without even, trying to see the effectiveness of it, right? An evaluation, an honest evaluation. Track and follow up on your engagements. Try to do that. Learn lessons to improve. And then, I'm just coming to the end. Brothers and sisters, just 2 more minutes, I need your attention. If you do Jidad-E-Tabyin properly, just as if you do the Jihad-e-Musallah properly, the enemy is going to definitely be hurt by your existence, by your wujud, if you do it properly. You with me? Don't have any doubts in your mind that I'm going to attack the enemy, I'm going to make sure that their plans don't get executed, and the enemy is going to be like, yeah, that's okay, he's just a brother. No, the enemy is going to come after you. But only if you're effective, if you do it properly. And at that point, a lot of people, they start off good. But when they're hit with these pressures, with these roadblocks, with the enemy attacking them, they start shaking. They start shaking. Because everybody loves Shuhada, everybody loves, Imam Khomeini, Rahbar, But then as soon as you hit that, you're eye to eye with the enemy attacks back at you as an individual or your family or your friend, you start to shake. And it's natural. It's natural. What do we do at that time? We turn towards Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. We look at their lives. We look at their seerah. We look at what they offered to us. They didn't just give us ahkam. They didn't just give us like some sciences like sarf and nahv and mantiq and falsafa. They gave us way more than that. We just need to know the treasures that they have given us. We turn towards Karbala. We look at Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha. She says, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." After what? After she sees everything that she sees in Karbala. Heads severed, bodies trampled, babies taking arrows in their necks. After all that, she says what? I did not see anything but beauty. We turn towards Karbala, brothers and sisters. This is important. It is easy to walk on the footsteps of imams till you hit that point where the enemy attacks you. It's all good up until that point. At that point, you need to be strong. We turn towards God and say what He says in Quran for us. He says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir la'inir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Walamma ra'al mu'minuna al-ahzab qalu haza ma wa'adana Allahu wa rasuluhu wa sadaqa Allahu wa rasuluhu wa ma zadahum illa imanan wa taslima." That when the mu'mineen, the believers, the ahle iman, walking on the path of Allah, doing jihad fi sabilillah, when they saw that there were these armies, these confederates facing them, threatening them, and they're in huge numbers, any normal person would tremble at that point. What did they say? This is exactly, these mu'mineen said that, this is exactly what Allah and His Prophet and His Messenger had promised us. They had already informed us. They did not keep us in dark. Just like Imam Hussain alayhi salam in Karbala, he said that tomorrow you all are going to be martyred. Somebody wants to leave tonight? Before my leave, I'm turning off the lamp. They did not keep their followers in dark. Brothers and sisters, the path of haqq, it requires sacrifice, whether we like it or not. We can come up with all the excuses to satisfy our own hearts. But the fact of the matter is, even the Ahlul Bayt ﷺ were not exempt from this principle of Islam. They said, this is exactly what Allah and His Messenger had promised us. And then, it is beautiful, right? It says, Allah and His Messenger spoke the truth. وَصَدَقَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. They're truthful, right? And then the last part, and I'm finishing my talk, it says that what did it have, the impact it had on them? It increased these mu'mineen in their belief, in their iman, and in their taslim, in their submission to Allah, their submission to wilayah, the wilayah of Allah, the wilayah of prophets, the wilayah of imams, the wilayah of their deputy, their naib, Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So these hurdles, these attacks of the enemies, if we are mu'min in the light of this verse, it should increase our iman. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to walk on the path of shuhada, walk off the path of imams, fulfill our responsibility of doing Jidad-E-Tabyin as a Hawza student, and inshallah give us the death of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, the death of martyrdom, and inshallah accept what we have said today in this jalasa, and inshallah what we will be saying on Jidad-E-Tabyin, each single one of you when you go out. Let's make the leader of the Muslim Ummah proud. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect this wali, this ni'mat that we don't have time to talk about and elaborate on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all the ulama of Islam, all the sincere ulama of Islam, the fuqaha, the maraji, Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Makarim, all of these great fuqaha that we have available to us, inshallah. May Allah protect all of them. May Allah elevate the ranks of the families of the shuhada, right? We alhamdulillah have too many sacrifices given from within our communities even now. May Allah give patience to all those whose relatives are suffering. They are in the clutches of the enemies of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make them strong in their iman and in their taslim. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.